Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be talking about the books that I want to / will be reading for the rest of this year. I'm honestly very excited about just reading for the rest of this year. I feel like I have really re-sparked my love and my urge to read. I am just really excited about reading again, and I also am very excited about the books that are really on my radar for the end of the year. I feel like I have recently learned that I actually do kind of enjoy sticking more to a TBR, not in a super strict way, but I feel like not only does it make me feel super productive and I just feel good when I've read books that I've been like, okay, these are the books that I kind of want to read, but I'm also learning that I actually really dislike starting a series and not continuing it and finishing it within like a shorter period of time, which, yeah, I don't know why it took me so long to learn that, but it did. So I am learning that about myself. So a lot of the books that I am planning to read by the end of this year are books that will either be continuing a series or finishing out a series that I need to finish, because I really don't want to start a ton of new series, especially like fantasy series, without finishing some of the ones that I've previously read. So that gets us to the actual first 3 books that I will be reading by the end of this year, and that is the next 3 books in the Throne of Glass series. I'm actually currently reading Crown of Midnight, and this will actually be in my upcoming reading vlog. Couldn't think of the word. So I'm currently reading this. I am on page 105 if you would like to know, but I definitely, obviously, I'm going to be reading this and finishing this year, but I also would really love to get through Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows. Kind of my thought process with this is I read The Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass the beginning of this year, and even just being barely under a year since I read those, I'm already going into Crown of Midnight kind of having forgot some of the things that happened in Throne of Glass, and it has really made me realize that I just am someone that does like to read series in closer conjunction so that I can really remember what's going on. I feel like it attaches me to the stories more. So that's something that I'm really going to be prioritizing again the end of this year, but also going into next year. I'm really going to be prioritizing, if I start a series and it's a series that I plan to continue, making it a priority to continue that and get through it quicker, because yeah, I don't like not doing that. Anyways, so I would really love to get through these 3 books in particular before the new year, because I want to get to right before the tandem read, because I do plan to do the tandem read, which is with Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. And that is like a big task to take on, is doing that tandem read. They're both very big books and it's going to take a long time to get through that tandem read. So I'd really love to end the year having got to right before that point and being able to go into that into the new year. But yeah, I would really love to read these 3. I am really intrigued to see how much I'm going to love this series in comparison to ACOTAR, but so far, being 100 and some pages into Crown of Midnight, I'm really enjoying my time. I really do enjoy her writing and just the way that she sets up universes and stories. So yeah, very excited to get through these. Kind of just yapped a little, but that's kind of the point. Now, next book is actually also a book I am currently reading, and it's also a book that will be finishing a series for me, and that is Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the last book in the Natural series. This series is basically following a group of teenagers who are called the Naturals. They are in this program called the Naturals for the FBI, and they help them solve cold cases. And this is the final book. There is a short novella that comes after this. I think it's actually in the physical copy, potentially, maybe, not 100% sure, but I am actually currently reading this book on my Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm currently reading this, really enjoying my time with it, and I'm really excited to finish another series. I do plan to read the novella afterwards, which is also on Kindle Unlimited. So that's another book that I plan to read, because why the heck not? Like, it's just a short little novella. Will, I'm sure, be a fun way to close out the series. So yeah, that's the next book. And also to finish a series that I have started. Well, okay, this is kind of finishing a series and then also kind of not. It's kind of a little confusing, but we have The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, this is the final book in the original Inheritance Games trilogy. However, there is more books coming out in this universe that's just not a part of the original trilogy. So this original trilogy follows Avery, and basically the premise of the first book, if you don't know, is she ends up getting left left this entire inheritance for this old rich man that she's never met, doesn't know. It has a bunch of riddles and games. You meet 4 brothers who this was their grandpa, and you really come to know them, love them, and just spend a lot of time with them. I have really enjoyed the first 2. I know that there is a lot of people who don't really love this last one, so it makes me a little nervous because The Hawthorne Legacy, the second in this trilogy, is a book that I have absolutely loved. It's a 5-star read for me. I really thoroughly enjoyed my time with that. So I am a little nervous going into this one that it potentially won't live up to what I'm hoping it to be, but I am very excited to read it and finish out this series nonetheless. And another book to continue a series. This is the last time I'm going to say that, I promise, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. Now, if you're new here, then you do not know my relationship with this book. The first time I picked this up, got literally over halfway through this. I got to page 460 and then I got in a really big slump, put it down, forgot I was reading it, and didn't pick it back up for a really long time. Then I have since tried to start listening to it as an audiobook to get myself back into it, starting from the beginning because it's been so long that I know I need to start over because I do not remember 460 pages worth of stuff to then go and continue finishing the last 200 to 300 pages because yeah, 300 pages. This is a very long book. My problem with getting through this is that we are now in Nesta's POV. So the first 3 books are in Feyre's POV. Then we have a novella that follows Feyre, Rhys, Cassian, and Nesta. I think that's the only people we follow. I don't know. Anyways, this is the first book in Nesta's perspective, and I just don't personally like Nesta. I think she's honestly a really, I'm sorry for the Nesta stans, but I do think she's a very bad person, and I think she's a bad sister. And don't get me wrong, I understand that she has had her own struggles, but that does not excuse the behavior that this girl be doing, okay? I'm sorry. That's a really hot take, but I do love Feyre, and so it is kind of hard for me to get through this one, but I do really need to. I'm really trying to prioritize getting through this, especially since there is potentially going to be a new ACOTAR book next year, maybe. I'm not really sure. So I need to get through this. I need to finish it very badly. So also planning to get through this one. Also, can I just say that I feel like the books that I am telling you guys about and the amount of them, I feel like is pretty reasonable. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be a few books that I am talking about that I don't end up getting to by the end of the year, whether I end up picking up something else or whether I just don't read this many books by the end of the year. But I do think it is pretty reasonable and pretty doable to read all these by the end of the year. So now we're gonna stop talking about continuing series, okay? We're done with that. I promise we're moving along. The next book is actually The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This is the only one of her magical realisms that I haven't read, and she is one of my favorite romance authors. The 7 Year Slip, A Novel Love Story, and Sounds Like Love have all been 5-star reads for me. I absolutely love them. I connect with her writing and her storytelling, and that might be the same thing, but whatever. And I always find myself really connecting to the characters in her stories. I think she is an incredible author. I think she writes the most dreamy and beautiful love stories, some of my favorite love stories I've ever read. So I'm very excited to read this one. I think this one is perfect for this more like end of the year, fall, going into winter season, because the magical realism aspect to this one, if I'm remembering correctly, is she can see ghosts, and I think that somehow the love interest is a ghost, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That could be wrong, okay? But I'm very excited to read this nonetheless. I actually really haven't been reading much romance. I feel like the beginning of this year I read so many romance back to back, and I really got myself so bored of romance. I felt like I was reading the same thing over and over again. I wasn't really enjoying the books I was reading. It was making my slump worse. So recently I've been reading more fantasies and some mystery thrillers, but I am excited to, you know, pick up a few romances here and there in between these fantasy reads that I'm going to be reading this year, to just kind of break that up, be a little bit more palate cleansery, and to read romances like this one that I do actually think have the potential to be like a 5-star read. So that is the next one, and the next book is a book that I'm actually really terrified to read, but I actually have to read in November because it is the book club book that I'm reading with my sister and my sister-in-law, and that is Red Rising. Guys, I'm really scared to read this. Sci-fi is very, very outside of my comfort zone. I've only read one other sci-fi book, and that is Dark Matter, and I did really enjoy that book. However, it wasn't my favorite book I've ever read, and it took me longer to get through it because sci-fi is not my thing. Now, I do think this has the potential to be something that I could really enjoy, but I am nervous about it. I am also nervous because I feel like there's so much hype and so much love behind this series that I'm really like, what if I don't get it? That would be kind of sad. Also, for some reason, I just feel like this book, I feel like this is about to make me sound stupid, but I just have this really weird feeling that I am going to struggle with like really understanding a lot of the stuff in this book for some reason, and I don't know why, and I feel like that just makes me sound stupid, but yeah. This is my book club book with them for this month, so I will be reading it. I'm just very nervous to read it. To be determined. I will probably end up reading this in a reading vlog, but don't hold me to that because I'm not sure, but probably. Okay, next book is just okay, I don't really know where I was going with that, but the next book is Lovelight Farms by B.K. Borson. I feel like this author is fairly loved. I don't really actually know, that could be wrong, but I am getting to the point where I'm getting really excited about some holiday romance reads. I'm getting really excited to just kind of have a cozy Christmas romance. This is just one of the ones that I have on my physical TBR that I'm like, yeah, let's read it. Oh my god, and it's fake dating. Perfect. Fake dating is like my favorite romance book trope. I just love fake dating so much, and I just so happen to see that this is fake dating. So I am very, very excited about that because I just love that trope. I am someone that does prefer low to no spice in romance books, and honestly just kind of in books in general. Sometimes higher spice levels doesn't bother me. It really depends if I can feel that emotional connection with a couple. I don't really know where the spice level on this one lies, though I would say I'm assuming, like going into this book, I'm assuming it's mild to medium spice, but I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I'm just really excited for some Christmas romance reads, and this cover is so cute, so stunning. Very, very excited about it. And yeah, I love Christmas. You might not ever meet someone who loves Christmas more than me, so very excited. I think I have to pause. Your girl's about to pee herself. Third trimester be like. I am back. Sorry. Really to pee. Anyways, the next book on my kind of radar for the end of this year is From Luca with Love by Mariana Zapata. I've never read a book by her before. I know she is a pretty well-loved author. I know a lot of people say that she's very, very good at writing like yearning and tension between two characters, so I'm very excited to kind of see my thoughts on that. But I feel like this one is just gonna be perfect for, again, the end of the year, transitioning into the winter season, because this is following a figure skater. I don't really know the plot of this. Yep, honestly, I don't really know. I don't know where the romance is gonna come from. I don't really know anything about this, but it's a book that I've had on my physical TBR for a really long time. And that's honestly another thing, is I feel like I recently, guys, I honestly don't know what's gotten into me, but the last few times I've gone to Barnes, I actually really haven't left with anything unless it was something that's like in a series that I love that just came out, so I got it. Like, I have not really been buying books recently, and I'm really proud of myself. I feel like I've really just been wanting to kind of shop my physical TBR, if you will, and just really get through the books on my physical TBR because there's a lot of them. And yeah, proud of myself for that. I don't really know what's gotten into me, but I'm not complaining nonetheless. It is saving me some coin at the moment, but yeah. Been on my physical TBR for a while. I think it'll be perfect for the transition to winter months. I think this will be a fun romance book to read. I do really love, like, I'm very interested in like figure skating and stuff. I think it's really fun to watch and to read about, so I think I will also really enjoy that aspect of it. So that's the next one. Next up, we have The Murders in Great Diddling by Katarina Bilvid, I think is how you say her name. I had actually started this book a few months ago, and I read like the first chapter and I was like, ooh, this sounds really interesting. I'm intrigued, and then I just didn't end up continuing it. I don't really know why, but I am very excited to read this. I feel like this is going to be more of like a cozy mystery, something that's just going to be fun, intriguing, hold my attention, but give more of those cozy vibes, which I think again will be perfect for the fall transitioning to winter time. This is also a book that I have literally never seen anyone else read or talk about, and I also have been really wanting to read more books that I haven't ever heard about, read more books that are like, in my eyes, more unknown to the public. Obviously, there's plenty of people out there who have read this book, but I feel like a lot of the books I end up reading are books that are popular on like BookTube or BookTok, Bookstagram, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I do love doing that. However, I do kind of want to read books that are like people have never heard of before. Not that I don't already do that, but I want to do it more. So yeah, this book, from what I remember, follows an author. She's been kind of visiting this village for like extended period of time. She has a deadline, I believe, for like a manuscript that she hasn't started. She doesn't know what her next book is going to be about, and then she's at like a party and there ends up being someone murdered, and so she finds herself kind of intertwined into the kind of affairs going on in this little village and in the middle of this murder mystery, and I think she ends up like taking that as a source to then write her book, but also while still trying to figure out like what's going on. So I think it'll be really fun. So I also really like this cover. I think it's really, really cute. It's honestly probably like one of my more favorite covers on my shelf, and I know it's pretty simple, but I just really love it. So gives me good vibes. I don't actually think that's speaking of good vibes. I was gonna just try to segue, but it wouldn't make sense. Anyways, Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I know this would be starting a series. I know, okay. But I recently got this. It was actually in a blind date with a book, which was in one of my more recent videos. And I was honestly really disappointed when I opened it and I saw this was what it was, because I've heard of this book. I've heard people talking about it, but it was never a book that kind of stuck out to me and like had a lasting like impression on me of like, I want to potentially read this in the future. But then a lot of you guys had been commenting on that video that if I really love a Gothic setting, which I do, and if I really enjoyed like One Dark Window and stuff, that I will really, really love this. So thank you to those of you who commented on that video saying how much you loved this, how much you thought I would really love it, because it really hyped me up and got me really excited to read this. And yeah, now I'm like very excited. I feel like this is something I could love. I don't know much about this other than I know our main female characters who we're following. I think that this is solely in her perspective, but I'm not sure. And I know that somehow like death is kind of personified, I think, and like is someone that she either like sees or like is in her head. I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure death is somehow personified in this book. That could be wrong, but that is the impression that I have gotten. So I don't know. But I do really love going into books blind. Let me know if you're the same way. I feel like a lot of the time I will go into books fairly blind, and I just honestly think that some of the best and favorite books I've found have been books I've gone into blind. So let me know if you're also someone who does that, but I am. And the last book is honestly one that I kind of just threw on this list because I was kind of like looking for another holiday romance, and I was looking for one that I already own that's on my shelf, and I ended up grabbing Holly Jolly Ever After by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. Words. I am pretty freaking positive that this is going to be an extremely spicy holiday romance. And again, like I said earlier, I typically don't really love that, though sometimes it doesn't bother me, but I do prefer lower spice. So I know going into this, it's gonna be higher spice, and I might not love that, but it's on my physical TBR. This cover is absolutely stunning. And I feel like the trope, I guess, and like kind of like the premise of this book is something that I could really enjoy. That could be like a fun read. I'm not going into this expecting a 5-star read. I'm not going into this expecting to fall in absolute love and feel so connected to them. It could still happen, but I'm not anticipating that. I'm anticipating just a fun, good time. And apparently this book follows an actress and a perpetually single former boy band member who are reunited as co-stars in a steamy holiday film, and that is the plot. That's the idea. That's the general gist of this book. So yeah, I don't know. That's really all I have to say. I'm just really looking forward to some holiday reads. I will say, on the topic of holiday reads, there is a book on Audible that's available until the 24th of November for free, and it is a book by Cody Hall. What is it called? Nick and Noelle's Christmas Playlist, I think. Yeah, that is right. I'm proud of myself. Anyways, I have read a book by Cody Hall before, and that was There's Something About Mary. I read that 2 years ago, I think, and I actually did really enjoy that book, so I think I'm gonna be listening to that on Audible, probably start that maybe today or tomorrow. So that's another book that's kind of got my attention in the holiday romance area, but just one that I don't own physically. And then one other book that is a holiday romance that I kind of have my eye on that I know, well, I don't know, but I'm 99.9% sure is on Kindle Unlimited, and that's Snowed In by, oh, what is her name? Catherine Walsh. I read Holiday Romance by her. I want to say that was not last year, but the year before as well. So 2 years ago. That means I might have read There's Something About Mary 3 years ago. Whoa. Anyways, I read that like 2 years ago and I actually really enjoyed it. It was on Kindle Unlimited, so I don't own it. But Snowed In is in this interconnected standalone, and apparently it's looking like it's a fake dating one. Yep, it is. So that's also on my radar to read, because not only is it a holiday romance, but it's fake dating. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and I am the type of person that likes to read a physical copy and also have a separate book going on my Kindle. But that typically always ends up being a book on Kindle Unlimited, whether it is a book I own physically and I'm like, oh, it's on Kindle Unlimited, I'll read it on my Kindle, or just a book that's on Kindle Unlimited that catches my attention. So that's another book that's on my radar that I may read by the end of this year. But other than that, that is the video. That is all the books. That is where I'm at. I really honestly enjoy just sitting here yapping and talking to you guys about the books that I'm planning to read the end of this year. Let me know down below if you're planning on reading any of these, if you've read any of these. Let me know some of the books you're planning to read by the end of the year. Just honestly comment down below anything you want, as long within reason, okay? Like let's be nice. Let's be jolly, cheerful. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already, because we have a lot of fun over here and we want you to join the fun. And with that being said, I love you guys so much. I don't know why I just did this. That kind of just cringed me out, but I do. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Whoa. Whoa. I am really in such a holiday Christmassy mood, to be honest. So why do I feel so awkward right now? I need to talk. My name is Tiffany. Really get into the vibe. Crazy. Think I might need to pee again. Nothing like having to drink 100 ounces of water a day. All right. Hello. Like, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? What is going on? What? Whoa. Love you guys. Bye.